Sure. Great to be back. As always, it's great to have you guys here that have a tremendous amount of interest in our program. Saturday will be our mental health awareness game against Washington, a game and cause that since I've been here has been important to me, my family, and our staff, and something that our players truly get behind. Bye week was really productive for us. We were able to get some guys back that were injured. We spent time trying to target one area to get better for each of our players, and each coach, we call it writing a prescription, wrote a prescription to our players to say, here's one thing after the first 4 games that if you improve at this skill, it'll help our team, it'll help us elevate. And so we were able to focus on the fundamental parts of the game of our players during the bye week, as well as get guys healthy, which is really important. Get some guys back that missed the Wisconsin game. With Washington, obviously, I had a chance to watch them against Ohio State. If you watch the game, you can tell that they are a very talented team going up against the defending national champions. They did a tremendous job for 4 quarters of, they got it to the 4th quarter. And I know for us as a football program, we always talk about let's get it to the 4th quarter to give ourselves a chance. And they're explosive on offense, starts with their quarterback. I think they rank 5th in Big Ten, averaging over 450 yards of offense. The final score of that Ohio State game, to me, is an indicative of how closely the game was played. And, I know they sustained a few injuries in their game, and not sure which of those guys will be back. But I can tell you, I've known Jed Fish a long time in the business. He spent time down at Florida, grew up in the Spurrier system, and spent a bunch of time in the NFL. And you can see his handprint all over the offensive side of it. Their D coordinator, Ryan Walters, a veteran D coordinator, former head coach that I had a chance to get to know as a head coach in this league. And again, being the D coordinator at Illinois the last couple of years, we had opportunities to go against his defense. Very well versed, and they'll do a great job. They play a lot of man coverage, mix it up with their 2 deep zone. They try to create the one-on-one pass rushers, and they do have great length, athleticism, and talent on that side of the ball. Being back in the shell, super excited to defend our home field advantage. I expect it to be a good crowd with family weekend being this coming weekend. Expect it to be great turnout and support for our young team as we continue to defend ourselves here in the shell. Our game captains will be Lou Ball, Eli Mason, and LaVan Scruggs will serve as our game captains, leading us into the Washington game. And with that, I'll open it up to whatever questions you guys have.
Questions? Start with Gene on your left.
Thank you. Hey, Mike, how are you?
Gene, what's up?
Have you kind of re-examined the way you guys handle bye weeks, given that the results haven't been?
Man, Dustin told me that. Dustin, what is our bye week record? Dustin literally said it.
0-9.
0-9.
Yes.
I ain't been here 9 years, have I?
9 times.
Oh,
no, nine games.
Was that funny? No. So, no, I mean, we evaluate everything we do, Gene. That's a great question. Dustin literally just said, you'll probably get asked that. And I said, well, what is my record after buys? Because, we usually practice how we have to. And I grew up in an era where the bye week is used kind of like a prize fighter. When in between rounds, he sits on the stool. His eyes are looking across at his opponent. He's getting instruction from his coaches. He's getting recovery from his coaches. He's getting a little rest. But we did things a little bit differently. We actually, because of our depth, we didn't beat them up. I have a tendency during bye weeks to be really, really physical because that's what I grew up in under the Nick Saban approach where you're young players, you be real physical. We just can't afford to do that. So we condensed our practice opportunity time, but we're physical. We still had shells and thudded and did some good things, but really looked at it as an opportunity to get some guys healthy while also focusing on things we haven't done well. And what I've learned about this young team is that most of the time when we've emphasized something to them, they've come back and done pretty well at it. So we wanted to find what are some of the small, detailed things of the fundamentals of the game that we needed to improve upon for each player, and then gear it toward that. We did a lot more individual. I think we had 30-minute individual period because of us wanting to get better with the fundamental part of it of a young team.
Hey, Coach. Back here. Congrats on the win, first and foremost.
Thanks, big guy.
Very interested to know, with conference games being so vital, and you having a young team, kind of how have you seen their confidence grow after that win against Wisconsin over the bye?
This team, as I keep saying, I don't see them act different. And I mean, that's the sign of a really young team because, I know it sounds like coach speak when you say they don't know what they don't know. They really don't. Everything they're going through for the first time, which is why the impact we can have on this team as coaches is really, really important. And, last week, 2 weeks ago, we talked about we'll figure out and find out a little bit about ourselves after the Wisconsin game. And we just keep confirming that we do have a talented team, but I will continue to guard against declaring that we've arrived or they've arrived, because the last thing to come when you have youth is consistency. And that's my job, to make sure that we show up and consistently, we go 2 games without turnovers or offensive penalties. That's really clean. And I know some of you guys don't see that as a positive because maybe statistically, offensively, we're not what we've been in the past. But I'm just really happy that we're playing really clean, not turning it over, controlling the ball. And now our defense isn't always having to play a lot of plays. And so all 3 phases are improving. I think special teams has made probably the biggest jump from week 1 to week 4. I see our offense, we made some jumps playing clean, and then defense has really played lights out. But I will caution you that there is still a lot of things on tape to get corrected that we've watched as we self-scout ourselves. And with this young team, we're going to keep coaching them.
Congratulations again, Coach. How you doing?
D, what's up?
How are you? You talked about it being a mental health awareness game.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk a little bit more about mental health as well as the academics. So during the bye week, do you and your team or your staff have a moment where you guys kind of focus in on the academic part because you're in a bye, or in that mental part? Do you guys, give yourselves that mental break during a bye?
Yeah, so as far as the mental break, they got away from the Wisconsin game. They had Sunday off. Monday we came in and did some work and had our meetings to put it to bed, which typically we would have waited till Tuesday. We did meet on Monday. We stretched and strided them to get the kind of lactic acid out of the bodies. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we had some normal tight practices. We condensed the time that we were out there, but really did continue to focus on the fundamental piece of it. And then they had Friday, Saturday, Sunday off as a recovery. But as we talked about, it's a lot like, that prize fighter. We get the recovery, we get the instruction, we get better in between rounds, but we keep our eye on the prize. And based on how we practiced yesterday, which was a more heavier Monday than we normally have, I like the way that they've responded with that. As far as the mental part of it, and the academic piece, one of the things we try to talk about is how do we limit distractions? And so this is the week, we have our academic meetings every Thursday at 11 o'clock where we go through each individual player in our program, and a lot of things are starting to catch up this time of the season, where now you've got midterms coming up, you've got papers coming up. We tried to focus on making sure with that extra time they had off that they got ahead of the curve with the academic piece so that we can focus and concentrate our energies on the opponent as much as we possibly can with limited late night distractions.
Mike, good afternoon.
Dave, what's up? How are you?
You know it. Only 2 sacks allowed so far by your offensive line. I think that's second nationally. What have been the seeds of success in keeping Malik upright this year?
I mean, good coaches. Hal, Hunter, Robo really have done a great job with this young, inexperienced group of guys. I just was talking to Pep before I came up here, and our 2 tackles are playing at a high level. Ratrell Perry and Alan Haran are both guys that are playing at a very high level for us. I think also the quarterbacks have a better understanding of how to protect the football and protect themselves. And then, even though the run game hasn't been as efficient when you look at it statistically, we've run the ball enough and forced the run into some things enough that it allows us to not put them in harm's way. We've stayed in some third and mediums more than we've been in the third and extra long, which typically leads up to some sacks. But I think just staying ahead of the chains on first and second down, being able to run the ball, control the clock, has helped with some of the statistics when you look at the sacks.
And I think you mentioned their quarterback, their running back, Jonah Coleman's a nice dual threat guy. What have you seen from him on tape?
Heavy-handed runner. He's one of those guys that he's a tough tackle in terms of one guy coming. If you don't bring your feet and play and tackle him with leverage, he can make you look bad. He's one of those guys that, as I talk to Ted and our defensive staff, we got to be really good at the gang tackling, where you see when we are playing good defense, you see a lot of guys running to the football, and with this running back, it's going to take a lot of hats to the ball, because sometimes the first guy may not get him down, but we've got to do a great job of rallying and getting a lot of bodies to the football on a good runner, heavy-handed runner like Jonah.
Hey, Mike. How's it going?
G, what's up?
Good to see you. Not to make you feel old, but do you have any memories of your 13th birthday, which was the last time that Maryland played Washington back in the Alamo Bowl in '82?
I was probably out in Lot Z during my 13th birthday. This time of year, I might have been out there the last time they played them.
But, yeah, you've talked about, expanding the conference and how that helps the Maryland brand, but also you have a relationship with Coach Fish, and does it make that a little bit easier in planning for a team that you guys haven't played in such a long time?
None of that matters, and it's, again, we watch the tape. I say this in here a lot, and I know a lot of you guys don't believe it, but the opponent matters from schematics and the personnel and who they have, but all of the personal relationship. Football, I mean, there is no personal in football. It's the game. It's about the ball, and, my wife knows Jed's wife. Jed's a great dude. I got to know him from my time coaching at Florida. I know he's a New Jersey guy. I've seen him on the road quite a bit, but always has been a guy that I've kind of had an opportunity to get to know over the last 30 years in this business. And sharp football mind, sharp offensive mind, been around some really good coaches. But, when it comes down to what's going to happen Saturday, it'll be about me having my team ready to play. And for us on the defensive side of the ball, it's going to be about limiting those explosives. On the offensive side, it's creating some explosives, a little more than what we have, and consistently being able to run the ball when we have to. And then special teams, either score or set up a score. I mean, that's kind of our approach this week.
Hey, Mike. First off, love the outfit today. So
it's Under Armour, man. My daughter works for Under Armour. It's a Japanese line with United Arrows and the look, I guess, man. Came in a box already put together too. Okay. So I just.
Did she ship it to you, or was it?
Oh yeah, I get it shipped. I mean, can't have you coming by my house, Sam. Amazon drivers.
Yeah, I don't know if I could work at UPS either.
Yeah.
But you talked about kind of some of the self-scouting mental mistakes that you guys had. What are some of those things that you're working on? I know drops has been something that you've brought up, and yeah. I think you're second in the Big Ten in that. But I'm just wondering, while it has been a great start, where are you looking to kind of improve after the bye?
Well, I think I said it earlier, the consistency, because you bring up drops, and 2 games ago we had no drops. I did fix that game, but they popped back up a week later, so we are emphasizing it again. If you come to practice, you'll see 4 jugs machines. I almost bought the Monarch machine like I am. It's a machine that you can just be out there on the field by yourself. You don't need quarterbacks to throw. I'm looking to do any and everything we can to improve. And typically, like I said, the things we've emphasized with this group, we will. I went back and watched every single drop we've had during the bye week. And, it's a simple fundamental called looking it in to the tuck. If you ever want to study it and if you want to fix drops, see how many times the ball hits their hands and their eyes go to make a play as opposed to looking it all the way in. And those are things that can be fixed. We studied it. We're working on it. You'll hear me screaming, eyes to the tuck. I've had to deal with these before. Good teams don't beat themselves, and we've cut all the other self-inflicted wounds out. You haven't said, hey, man, 2 games with no turnovers. Old Sam comes with the drops, boy. But so I'm working on those drops for you, Sam, and I'll try to get that fixed this week. For sure.
No turret, Michael.
Hey, Coach.
What's up?
With the bye week struggles, is there any reason or reasons you can pinpoint why it's been that way in recent
Yeah, I
years?
didn't even know. Again, I had to ask, what's my record after bye weeks, but I didn't know it was that bad. It was terrible, 0 for 9. You know what? You guys also realize that we play really good teams in the Big Ten after a bye week, and as a team that has been developing, we faced some tough teams coming off of a bye, and it's no different this week. And so, yeah, I've looked at what we need to do differently. Some of it is not beating us up because I'm from kind of that old school philosophy of it is like being in spring ball again, and hey, let's just get 120 plays of practice. Let's be physical. Let's let the young players tackle to the ground. And then all of a sudden, I've got a bunch of injuries that happened during the bye week that doesn't allow us. So it's a fine line, and I mean, you can find stats for how I am after a Friday night game. You can, I mean, I can't keep up with the stats. That's why I try not to think or know what they are, because when you ask, you can get a real authentic answer. We are working to find a way to win this game at home. We looked at our team where we were. We decided how and what type of practices we needed to have. We focused more on fundamentals than scheme this past week. Gave a lot more individual time, really tried to hone in on let's get better at one thing, because if you try to fix everything, you end up fixing nothing. And so that's what we took that approach, and we'll see how it works on Saturday.
And then regarding the incident with Daniel Holmes last week,
You're the guy. You're right. Mike asked. No, just kidding.
will he be
I
suiting
bet
up
on
on?
you.
Will he be suiting up on Saturday? And then what are the steps that you guys take as a staff to eliminate those potential distractions in the future?
Yeah, we hadn't had one of those in a while. I don't know if you checked that stat, but it's been a while since we had one of those. We handle that stuff internally, Mike. Like, I never want to get up here and embarrass kids, and so we handle it internally. Spoken to my bosses, obviously. I don't get into personnel matters, much like injuries here. We'll let this thing run its course internally, and we'll see how it works out.
Coach, you've talked a lot about the young pieces and the new pieces on this offense this year. How have you seen a guy like Octavian, who's seen different iterations of this program, be kind of a glue for the new faces this year on the offense?
Yeah, you can't buy leadership, and that's what I'm starting to see from Octavian, and not just, on the football field, but, a week ago he's our student athlete of the week, which I'm a big believer that how you are off the field usually translates to who you will be on the field, and I like Ock's progression. He's kind of the poster child this year for what a developmental player looks like in our program. Guy that's played every year, never redshirted. His stats continue to get better with each year. I've seen him grow leadership-wise, on track to graduate, starting to teach and coach the younger players the right way of how our standard is and needs to be for us to create some consistency. So big fan of what Ock has done for us this year, and we're going to need a big game out of Ock this week.
Hey, Coach, right here.
What's up, big man?
Yeah, we talked a lot about Zahir Mathis and Sidney Stewart, like getting comfortable with this defense. But now that consistency is really shown with them. ESPN just gave them that one of those top freshman awards with Malik. How have you noticed Zahir and Sidney really getting comfortable now, almost leading this offense and or the defense in statistical categories into Big Ten play?
A byproduct of their abilities, which, I mean, I'm not here to say I told you so, but these two young guys were guys I've talked about when you ask what young players before the season. And I said I think we'd be able to rush the passer a little bit better than we have in years past and not have to add blitzers, I think is what I said. And both these guys were guys that were heavily recruited out of high school. They're both super talented guys. But probably the thing that you guys don't know is these guys have some tremendous whys. I mean, when you sit and talk, and you've got a chance, because I let freshmen talk to the media now because of the landscape, but you get a chance and a feel to see the maturity level that both those young guys have. And, having Sid here for spring ball was an added value for us because we had a chance to really kind of see the player that we thought we were recruiting, because he missed most of his senior year. But then to get Zahir here and on Father's Day in June, and just to see how quickly he's progressed. Ted coaches that position group, does a tremendous job in their development within our scheme. This scheme is built for those type of pass rushers, and they both have taken advantage of some opportunities, but they're still young players, man. And, it's always great for our program and for them to be recognized that way, but we're doing everything we can to insulate them to keep it the main thing, which is the internal standards that we have. I mean, we haven't relied on external because nobody gave us a chance on the front end, so let's keep the main thing, and we'll keep coaching them to play to that level with great consistency.
They've been big, and now a third of the way through the season. Just your thoughts overall on Ted Monachino's defense and how he's settled in here.
Yeah, I like the way Ted, Zahir, Zach, football is the ultimate team sport, and as the head coach, sometimes I get way too much credit. I have no problem with the blame. With Ted, he should get a ton of credit because he's put in a system that fits what we need it to be to get the best out of our players. And one thing I always mandate to my coaches is, put your best players in the best possible positions to be efficient and effective for us, and he's done a great job of doing that with the defensive side of the ball.
Hey, Coach. You talked about the freshmen just now and before, just saying how they don't know what they don't know, but in college football where seniors are bouncing around, upperclassmen getting their shine for a year or so at schools, like how special or how rare is it to have freshmen leading the program here at Maryland?
It's always good when they play the way these guys have. I've been around here, 17 years, so I've seen a lot of freshmen come in and play. I've seen the DJ Moores, the Stephon Diggs, the Yannick Ngakwe's, Sean Merrimans, the Vernon Davises. These guys are in that same world, and we've recruited really well. We've evaluated really well during my tenure here, and we'll continue to do that. And so, as I said, to our team, like a lot of people don't know or didn't know the type of talent that we've put together because 64 of the guys are new. There's a lot more questions than there were answers, but I can just tell you we are nowhere close to being what I think we can be. But I really like this team and I like their hearts.
You said earlier, you mentioned the reason freshmen are talking to the media this year is because of the landscape.
Yeah.
Could you expand on that?
Yeah, I mean, they NIL, name, image, and likeness. If I hold them hostage and don't let them talk, people won't know if they can represent their brands and know what type of influencers they can be. And so in this day and age, I used to be more afraid that they didn't have the experience to stand in front of such a professional group of guys that are going to, ask tough questions of a young guy. But in this day and age, we've done our part, Dustin. We've done a lot of programming over the summer with training young players on how to deal with this media. But this is an opportunity for me. If I were to not give them this opportunity, I'm taking away possibly opportunities for them to maybe create some value for themselves in the name, image, and likeness space. Two more? Sheesh.
I'll give you an easy one. Messiah Delhomme just sparkles on tape. He's blocked 2 punts in 2 consecutive weeks. I don't know if that's ever happened here before. What do you see from him, and did you know he was going to be at that level of player when you looked at him?
I mean, there's no doubt. We thought he was a really good player, or we wouldn't have recruited him here. He's a guy that missed his senior year, broke a leg, and did not participate his senior year in high school. But we saw enough of his junior tape, and he was a guy that was recruited by everybody in the country. I mean, it was a great steal to be able to get him out of Virginia. And, Coach Scott Luttrell has done a tremendous job for us down in that 757 area, bringing guys out of Richmond. If you look across our roster, we've never, in my opinion, maybe since the Bobby Ross era, where the Covington boys and some of those guys that had opportunities to come from Virginia to Maryland, Coach Scott has really given us an imprint there in that Tidewater, Richmond area that we haven't had in years. And so a lot of talented players down there, and we're excited. And Messiah was one of those guys that we saw a lot on junior film. Most people still recruited him coming off of the injury. We were able to hold him through a tough 4-win season a year ago. And I think I've said in here, like, he's one of those freshmen that I thought could help us early. And he's doing it on special teams, but he's also made some plays on the back end where in practice, he's one of those guys that was always around the ball, and the ball finds him. So like the young player that he's showing to be a chance, he'll have a chance to be a pretty good one.
Hi, Coach. Can you just talk about how Pep has impacted the offense, especially with the freshman quarterback having like that seamless success thus far?
Yeah, the first part would start with, for me, a change in how I've done things, because anybody knows me know I'm a no-huddle, up-tempo team that tries to get 80 plays a game. And if you look at what we've done, we've had maybe 57, 60 plays. We play with not as much pace. We've changed a lot of some of the verbiage because we have new players that, in an effort for them to play early, much like in the NFL when they sign a guy like Darren Waller, who signed a week ago and he catches 2 touchdowns. Well, the only way he gets to play in the game is if you tell him what to do in your call, which is why we've huddled. Now that we have the communication, the time of possession has helped our defense, and probably one of the little changes that a lot of people don't recognize, but that's allowed us to be a lot fresher on the defensive side of the ball. It allows us to make sure everyone is on the same page when we do leave a huddle. Now, we mix our tempos in there to where we can play fast, but I think those are the types of things Pep has brought, Ted has brought, Dre has brought to special teams, is a different approach that allows us to get guys to play faster and earlier, and not have to memorize maybe as much as we've had to when you do the no huddle and taking signals. Thanks, guys.